Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dwayne Kimball, United States Army veteran and retired VA rating specialist. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing how I avoided the VA's probative value as a VA rater. In addition, I'm going to explain what it is, when I seen it used, and why some VA raters use it. So you definitely don't want to miss this video. Make sure you stick around. Okay, everyone, the VA's probative value. As a former VA rater, adjudicated my own claim, how did I avoid this? Okay, but before I can explain to you how I avoided it, I want to start off by explaining what it is, when I've often seen it used by raters, and why do I think some raters use this against veterans, okay? So, you know I got some slides for you. Let's go ahead and get into it. Slide number one. Here in slide number one, this is the definition, probative value, okay? Evidence has probative value if it makes a matter material to the determination more or less likely and has sufficient weight, either by itself or in combination with other evidence to persuade the decision maker about a fact. Okay, let me give you an example. And after I give you this example, keep that in the forefront as I go through the remaining slides. A veteran obtains a DBQ and Nexus if needed, and have both of those completed by their private physician, and they're completed per VA guidelines, which makes them actionable and sufficient for rating purposes. You've heard me say that before, okay? So let's go a step further. They're actionable and sufficient per 38 CFR 3.326 subpart B and subpart C. All right, that's very important. Now, in this M21 manual reference, I highlighted the word "and" in red. So that means probative value must have both of these bullet comments, not just one, okay? Move right along, slide number 2. Determining the probative value of evidence. The following factors are important considerations in determining the probative value of evidence. So this M21 is telling the VA rater, hey, these are important considerations, okay? Competency, credibility, thoroughness, precision, relevancy, and date of the evidence, okay? So let's just take date of evidence. Now, we all know our service treatment records. They could be older, okay? But in today's example, I'm using an actionable and sufficient DBQ and Nexus statement if needed. If you have a DBQ that's outdated, let's just say it's 3 years ago, okay, and you submit it and the VA employee decides to give you a C&P exam, more than likely they're going to use probative value from that C&P exam opposed to your actionable and sufficient DBQ that is, let's say 3 or 4 or 5 years old, because more than likely that DBQ is outdated. It has expired. Okay, so date of the evidence. Keep that in mind, all right? Moving right along. Slide number 3, okay? So we're gonna spend a few minutes on this, a couple minutes at least, all right? Now, as in my other videos, I always use the M21 manual reference in 38 CFR sometimes. I think in one of my last videos, I even showed a court case. I say that to say this. I may not copy the entire M21 manual reference, but you have the number and the name of it. So make sure if you want additional information, go out to the VA's website. You know, I've already done the heavy lifting to find the number and the name for you. Then you can go there and read the entire M21 manual reference, okay? So it says, consider the key elements listed below when evaluating the probative value and relative weight of medical evidence, such as a diagnosis, assessment, prognosis, or opinion on etiology onset. What can that include? A DBQ and definitely a Nexus. Because in the DBQ, you're going to have the diagnosis and assessment. Okay, the prognosis. Hey, if you ever attended one of my trainings, what is the prognosis? Guarded. That prevents them from scheduling a what? A routine future exam. Just drop the nugget. Hope you caught that. Okay. Or opinion on etiology onset. You find that in the Nexus statement. Okay. So what are they going to be looking at? Physician's qualifications. Now, if there's a Vietnam vet submitting a DBQ for ischemic heart disease for a presumptive condition, which is ischemic heart disease, is on the Agent Orange list, and that doctor is a cardiologist that completes that DBQ, and that veteran submits it, the VA employee says, oh, I'm not going to use it, even though I can, I'm going to schedule for a CMP exam, okay? And that veteran goes to the CMP exam not knowing any better, right? That the VA has information they can use without it. And that doctor says something totally different. Like, let's just say, oh, the vet doesn't have a diagnosis of ischemic heart disease. Now, on that other slide, we talked about like date of evidence, competency, length of treatment, stuff like that, right? So this is a DBQ from a specialist cardiologist that has been treating that veteran. And their VA examiner is a nurse practitioner. Now, I'm not saying just totally disregard everything from a nurse practitioner, but you're dealing with a specialist, and a specialist that has been treating this particular veteran, okay? The qualification. Now, what's next? Physician's knowledge of the relevant history. You just heard me say, hey, the Vietnam veteran had an actionable sufficient DBQ from their treating cardiologist, which is their physician for that condition that they're claiming, okay? So you want to make sure the evidence that you have, that doctor reviews it. If it's private evidence, obviously they've reviewed it because more than likely they wrote it, okay? Context in which the medical evidence was created. Treatment, that's self-explanatory. Just said it. Treating physician, okay? Simple. Reasoning employed by the physician, theory, observation, practice, clinical testing, subjective report. So let me give you some examples. Clinical testing, we use in ischemic heart disease in this example, EKG, echocardiogram, anything else, any other testing that the veteran went through for that condition. Now, even though I'm using ischemic heart disease as an example, think about the condition that you're claiming. If it's PTSD, if it's a back condition, okay, whatever it is, look at these bullet comments and say, okay, I got a treating physician. What evidence do I need? Length of time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, okay? Degree of specificity and degree of certainty. I know some people are going to tease me about that, but hey, I'm from the country, so words come out kind of different. It said and, a lot of these and, so it's not or. Some of these above said or, okay? So keep that in mind as you're going through and you reading this. Now, by this time, if you submitted a DBQ and Nexus if needed, and you were scheduled for a CMP exam, and you went to that CMP exam and you were denied, I guarantee you in that rating decision, more than likely, 9 times out of 10, that rating specialist used probative value. And you're like, what is that? Okay, because it's not a full explanation and they don't provide the definition that I just showed from the VA's M21 manual reference, okay? So before I decided to tell you how I avoided it, I just want to show you what it is, okay? Where you see it in a rating decision. Why do you see it? Because, hey, the vet went to the CMP exam, that doctor said something totally different, maybe provided a negative opinion, and decided to use that negative opinion over your positive opinion, which is actionable and sufficient, all right? Now, how did I avoid it, okay? I'm just telling you how I did it. I'm not saying, hey, you should do what I did, but I want to share with you when I rated my last claim, how I avoided it. I went out, I got an actionable and sufficient DBQ. Now, I know people are going to say, Dwayne, you just pissing them off, whatever. I rated for years. I know what makes a DBQ actionable and sufficient. So why am I going to submit a DBQ that's not actionable and sufficient, okay? So that's exactly what I did, because in some of my older videos, especially when I talk about a day in the life of a rater and my experience throughout this process, I got fed up with the CMP exam. I didn't feel that those CMP examiners were there for me, and they were not being honest. I had 2 that were, but out of the 4 CMP exams I had, 2 of them were horrible, and I vowed never to return. So I went out, had my own physician to complete a DBQ, okay? I get a call from QTC saying, hey, you need to report for an exam. I told them to kick rocks. I don't know your examiner. Their examiner didn't fit the bill of what I just showed you, because their examiner never treated me before, did not have access to any of my private records, and I didn't submit them because my doctor stated they reviewed my claims folder and they had access to my private medical evidence for this particular condition, okay? So I told him I wasn't reporting. I get a call back, hey, we need you to report. I'm not doing it. My DBQ is actionable and sufficient per 38 CFR 3.326 subpart B, subpart C. Leave me alone, rate with the evidence of record, call the VA's 800 number, told them the same thing. 2 weeks later, I get a rating decision in the mail granting the increase. Now, you have to ask yourself, if they could have used it 2 weeks later, why didn't they use it 2 weeks earlier? I'm not giving you a chance to get negative information from your doctor that I don't know and I don't trust. And then in the rating decision, you're going to use probative value. So that's a way that I avoided it. If you decide to go that route, which is totally up to you, be prepared to fight. Now, if your DBQ and or Nexus, if needed, goes through, good deal, okay? If not, now you're at a crossroad. You have to make a decision. Do you go or do you not go? And if you don't go, are you willing to fight, or are you going to let them steamroll over you? So with that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and don't forget to share this video with your fellow veterans. Thank you.